This week in Jamaica Now, Central Clarendon under 96-hour curfew, 7 people shot dead in 2 days.
There's a significant number of activists out there, supporters, who are well armed and are brutal in their approach.
Retired senior cop Renito Adams angry over visa sanctions. Dancehall artiste Tommy Lee arrested over alleged gun offenses. Laden is going to prison for similar crimes. COVID worry intensifies. Government announces tighter restrictions for the parish of Westmoreland. Then,
I've seen what life is like without a vaccine, what waiting and seeing could potentially do.
a Jamaican nurse in Long Island is the first to get the COVID vaccine in the United States. And Peter Bunting takes up Senate seat after controversy over Norman Horne's appointment. I'm Damian Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. Central Clarendon is now under a 96-hour curfew after 7 murders in 2 days. This includes the community of Effortville, where 5 people of the 7 were murdered in 24 hours. 3 others have been wounded. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the violence is being pushed by gangsters in relation to the disappearance of a motorbike.
The security forces who have knowledge of what's happening will be taking additional measures. In fact, we had deployed significant numbers after the first incident in the hills. And while we are aware that gangsters in the central area would have been involved, it therefore dictates that we send significant additional manpower of both soldiers and policemen in the area.
In Effortville, a pregnant woman and her spouse who were on their way home from church were also shot in the deadly rampage on Wednesday night. The expectant mother is said to be in a serious condition. Retired Senior Superintendent of Police Renito Adams has been angered by the decision of the United States to designate him and 5 other members of the now disbanded Crime Management Unit as human rights violators. The U.S. State Department has also imposed visa restrictions on Adams and his former colleagues, as well as their families. The U.S. State Department has cited the involvement of the cops in the May 2003 killings of 4 persons in Crawle, Clarendon. Adams, along with Devon Bernard, Patrick Koch, Shane Lyons, Leaford Gordon, and Roderick Collier, were all acquitted after a lengthy trial in 2005. Adams says although he has no intention to travel to the U.S., he found the move a clear disregard of the ruling of a Jamaican court.
Well, I would never like to live in a world along with you, my lady, where after a court of any land, whether it's in America, England, America, and so on, a few lunatics get together and say, among ourselves, that although the court says that, we within ourselves can say the man or the woman is still culpable. I will not live in a world, Ms. Jackson, with you and those people.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying.
Dancehall entertainer Tommy Lee Sparta will be spending the holidays in jail after being charged with illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition. Tommy Lee, whose given name is Leroy Russell, was held in New Kingston on Monday night after a vehicle in which he was traveling was intercepted by members of the police Specialized Operations Unit. The police say the men in the vehicle were searched and the firearm was found in Russell's waistband. He is to appear in court on January 6, 2021. Meanwhile, dancehall artiste Laden is now in prison serving his 4-year sentence for a similar offense. Laden, born O'Keefe Aarons, had pleaded guilty in the St. Elizabeth Circuit Court. He was arrested in October. The police say they were on patrol in Cheapside, St. Elizabeth, when they signaled the driver of a black Mercedes-Benz to stop. He initially complied but sped off when the police approached. A chase ensued, and during the chase, an object was seen being thrown from the sunroof of the car. The object turned out to be a firearm. Laden was later intercepted. Westmoreland is now under a tighter curfew as COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths continue to spike. The curfew starts at 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily until December 31. General gathering limit in public spaces has been reduced from 15 to 10, and Grand Market has been cancelled in both Westmoreland and Hanover.
To date, Madam Speaker, the parish has recorded 117 active cases, with 76 new cases last week. These cases are spread over 80% of the communities in the parish, so that this is widespread. Madam Speaker, the parish recorded a test positivity rate of 32.1% last week compared to 17.6% the week before. This means that approximately 1 out of every 3 persons tested were positive for the coronavirus. This is over 3 times the national positivity rate of 9.3% for that week.
Meanwhile, a Jamaican nurse in Long Island, United States, has become the first person in America to get the COVID vaccine.
I've seen what life is like without a vaccine, what waiting and seeing could potentially do. Every day I would leave my home and I would look in the mirror, not knowing if I would make it back home.
Peter Bunting, the one-time leadership hopeful for the People's National Party, has now been sworn in as the 8th opposition senator. Bunting, who took his seat as leader of opposition business in the Senate, took the oath of allegiance after delays amid the stalemate between Norman Horne and the PNP. Horne was appointed on the recommendation of former opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips, but he could not take up his seat in the Senate as he was a United States citizen. After a squabble between Horne and the party, the former PNP treasurer finally informed the Governor-General that he would not take up his seat as an opposition senator. Bunting did not ignore the saga when he addressed the Senate on Friday.
Mr. President, given that certain constitutional office holders and indeed investigative journalists had to grab the bull by the proverbial horn to enable the Senate to be fully constituted this morning, we are again reminded of the need to review our Constitution to ensure that it evolves in the service of our people.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has come under a torrent of criticism from the construction and engineering interests for claiming that Jamaica lacks the technical expertise to handle major renovation projects such as the 3-year-long rehabilitation of the Cornwall Regional Hospital. The Jamaica Institution of Engineers and the major umbrella group of construction stakeholders have slammed the minister as misguided. Don Mullings, managing director of M&M Construction, the firm that carried out repairs to the roof of the 400-bed Type A hospital, considers offensive the minister's characterization of contractors as being out of their depth. He argues that contractors cannot deliver outside their mandate. Speaking at a Gleaner Editors Forum, Tufton said the lengthy delay may have been the result of lack of competence or expertise.
And there's no doubt that we have had issues, and a shakeup is required to bring in external, I would say overseas expertise around the project management, and certainly in the final phase, go to the international market to bring in contractors who have experience in hospital build-out, because that, I think, has been a big part of the challenge. Too many recalibrations, too many re-evaluations, too many variations.
Deported Jamaican Richard Storyteller Marston is fed up with a long delay by the court to conclude his negligence case against the Jamaican government for wrongful extradition. On Monday, Marston, a building contractor, went to the Court of Appeal to file documents requesting that the Supreme Court be compelled to deliver its judgment on the compensation to be awarded to him in the claim he has brought against the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General. However, he was informed that he must first get an order from the Supreme Court itself before the matter can be accepted by the appeal court. Marston, who was reported to be an alleged former leader of the notorious Shower Posse gang, came to national attention in 1991 when he was wrongfully extradited to the United States of America while an appeal of his extradition order was pending. The government unsuccessfully attempted to have him returned to Jamaica. He was tried in a U.S. court and convicted on offenses for which he was not extradited. Marston maintained that on September 24, 1994, the only indictment for which he was extradited was dismissed for lack of evidence. After spending 22 years in a U.S. prison, Marston was deported to Jamaica in 2013. The Jamaican government accepted that it was wrong and offered a settlement. However, Marston rejected the offer, saying it was too meager and has been waiting since March for the Supreme Court to arrive at a compensation amount. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. I'm Damian Mitchell, and before we go, more from nurse Sandra Lindsay, the Jamaican who was the first in the U.S. to receive the COVID vaccine.
Everybody wants to hear my experience. How does it feel? Why did you want to volunteer to do this? What is your message to people who are skeptical? And it's just opened up a good platform for me to be able to share my story and hopefully inspire people not to be afraid of the vaccine, but to be afraid of COVID-19. I would take a picture every morning that I'm leaving in my scrubs. Sometimes I would share it with my friends and family, even back home, and said, it feels like I'm going back to war. Going back to war, don't know if I'll make it home. Love you. That's how I feel. That's how I felt. And in my 26 and a half years of nursing, I've never felt afraid until now.